Hi, welcome to Hollywood Crime Scene. This is Rachel Fisher.
Hi, this is Desi, Jedeikin.
We were just discussing our love of trashy 80s, early 90s paperback teen books.
Yes.
Like Sweet Valley High.
Well, everyone's talking about A Wrinkle in Time coming out, and I was telling Rachel that I did not read that book when I was a kid or as an adult either, but I was obsessed with V.C. Andrews, like the Flowers in the Attic books and Sweet Valley High.
Same.
And we were talking about Go Ask Alice and Lois Duncan.
Lois Duncan, who did the I Know What You Did Last Summer books.
Right.
Before it was a major motion picture.
But Rachel did read A Wrinkle in Time, which I'm surprised.
I'm surprised too, because I never did any of the assigned reading in school because I was like a total fucking loser. Mm-hmm. But this was one of the books I did read in school. It was assigned to us in 6th grade, and I fucking loved it.
Is it a series? Or just one?
I do think that, yeah, there was actually books after, so this will probably be a trilogy.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll read it.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that it was a trilogy or a series.
Have no idea.
But I thought it was a great book. It made me cry.
Aww.
Yeah. It was a beautiful story. I can't wait to see the movie.
And I'm sure I cried in Flowers in the Attic or one of the follow-ups to it.
Flowers in the Attic is...
But what was the second one? They all had like flowery names, right? It was like the Thorn and the...
I didn't read the other ones, but I did have one named Dawn.
I was hardcore. Wait, wasn't there another one like with the name? It was like Aurora. It was like some other V.C. Andrews book. I think there was a movie, like a Lifetime movie. We should, maybe I'll do like a bonus episode reviewing that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it's amazing. I mean, Lifetime and V.C. Andrews together, that's like peanut butter and chocolate. Like,
yeah, it's perfect.
Better than a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Absolutely.
So there's no Versace episode this week.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Just
I actually watched the opening of the previous episode before I realized there wasn't a new episode, and I was like, oh, God, they're really like hammering home that Donatella's a bitch.
Well, sometimes it's hard to tell because it's like
right, and I probably wasn't paying that much attention to that scene, and I was this time because I was like, wait, the whole time I was like, is this the same?
Well, it's not linear storytelling, and they do repeat stuff.
Yeah, so it was confused.
But we didn't have a Versace this week. It'll be back up, I think, February 28th. It said. So we'll recap.
I also saw another kind of crime-related series is coming. Did you see the Tupac and Biggie one? Oh. It's starting the 27th, I think.
Yeah. Is it Lifetime? Is it FX?
I don't know. It's one of those. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying.
Look.
Maybe.
I just, as someone obviously who's a huge fan of both of those artists, I walk into with hesitation anytime a biopic is done on them, but I'll watch it.
I'll check it out.
So
maybe we'll check that one out too. Right. And then the other one I'm kind of excited for is Trust, about the kidnapping of J.P. Getty, or the kid in Italy. I mean, these are both stories I think we'll cover at some point, so I'm definitely going to check them out.
Absolutely.
It did remind me though, one more random thing before we start our story. I saw the Biggie and Tupac thing, and it reminded me, like, in the 90s, I was deathly afraid of Suge Knight. Like, I literally was like, he will fucking kill you. Like, I don't know why I was so afraid of him, because there was no way I would ever probably come in contact with him.
You heard about what he did to Vanilla Ice.
Right. I was just I was so shook by Suge Knight that I was just terrified of him. And it is nice to see him now sort of emasculate, like, just completely like he's nothing, you know, because I don't have to have that fear anymore. But yeah, it was an overwhelming fear of Suge Knight. I was like, whoa, he is a monster. Based purely on like whatever, it probably isn't even true stories, but like he definitely built up that reputation as if he was this.
My favorite intimidating Suge Knight moment was at the Source Awards in 1995, I believe, and he was talking shit about Puff Daddy.
Oh, on stage?
On stage.
Yeah, I remember.
He didn't say his name directly, but he was like, at least I'm not the producer all in the videos, dancing in the background. Like, he's like, you want to fuck with us? Come to Death Row. And then he dropped the mic down.
I remember that.
I was like, damn,
I mean, your record label is Death Row. It's
this
scary.
Guy's serious business.
Yeah. But it's, as an adult now, I'm not as scared of him.
Okay. That's good, Desi. Overcame a childhood fear.
Yes. See, it's possible.
Yeah. All right, so we had some Patreon contributors this week. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot. This week we had Diane. We had, Diane was last week, but thanks, Diane, again.
Dirty Diana gets two.
Diana gets 2 shout outs. Okay, so this week we had Carrie, Matthew, updated your pledge. Thank you so much. We have Alyssa, we have Alicia, and Kay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much.
That's so sweet. And if you want to help the show, but you don't have cash, which a lot of people don't, you can tell a friend. You can rate and review us and subscribe. And you can join our Facebook fan club or friend group. I don't know what it is. I
your
guess.
Listenership is more important than your money, but your money does help. But we do love all our listeners.
Yeah.
And we really love.
There's lots of ways you can help the show.
Yeah.
That's my point.
We love all the support that we've gotten. We're really blown away.
We did get a lot of fun replies this week.
This week, we are talking about the case of Bobby Kent. Now, this is going to be a movie versus reality episode, so this is not a crime that took place in Hollywood, California, or to any celebrities, but it was made into a pretty big movie in 2001. That movie is called Bully. Desi, you've seen the movie.
Yes, it was a Larry Clark movie.
It's a Larry Clark movie.
That's like his best movie, I would say. Like it's his most movie.
Do you like it better than Kids?
Yes.
I do too.
Because it's a more of a linear story and it has like...
Kids is like a day in the life of.
Right, which is fine. I like Kids too, but I do feel like Bully is more of a substantial movie.
I think it's a
and
solid,
I like the subject matter, obviously.
Tight movie.
Well, I was telling Rachel before that I was actually following the case and I had read the book, and I think the book might be called Bully too, but I'm not sure.
It is. It's Bully with a semicolon.
It has like it has like a subtitle.
A true tale of something. And speaking of which, I was going to say, I actually tried to purchase the book this past week to read it for the show, but it's not available as an ebook, and I didn't have enough time to order it, so I didn't get to read the book.
It's good.
But I did read a lot of newspaper articles and a lot of, transcripts from the trial. And
it was a pretty big case.
There was a lot of information about this case online. So I was really happy about that I was able to get a lot of stuff for this episode. Now, the film Bully was released in 2001. It stars the late, great Brad Renfro, who, rest in peace, one of my
I love him.
all-time childhood crushes.
Me
and
too. He's so cute.
Favorite actors growing up. Nick Stahl and Bijou Phillips, who's fabulous in this movie. And like we said before, directed by Larry Clark of Kids fame. This is what Roger Ebert had to say about Bully. Bully calls the bluff of movies that pretend to be about murder but are really about entertainment. His film has all the sadness and shabbiness, all the mess and cruelty and thoughtlessness and thoughtless stupidity of the real thing. Roger loved the movie when it came out. And I just want to say that the opening song in the movie Bully is by JT Money, and it's called Who Dat. So any kids that grew up in the 90s and were teens in the early 2000s will hopefully remember that song. It was a jam, and I was really happy to be reminded that that's how the movie starts out. It's sort of the perfect tone.
Yeah, it gets
for
you right
the
into the movie.
Yeah. We're going to start with the crime. Bobby Kent was born May 12, 1973 to Iranian immigrants, Farah and Fred Kent. He grew up in Hollywood, Florida, which is a suburb close to Fort Lauderdale, and it's a middle-class neighborhood. There are some nicer homes there. And he lived on the same block as his best friend named Marty Puccio. Marty was born March 21st, 1973. So these kids are the same age. They're childhood friends since third grade. Marty and Bobby had been best friends since the third grade, but the two boys didn't exactly have the most healthy or supportive relationship of each other. Bobby was athletic, a good student, and had a considerably more privileged life than Marty, who was a high school dropout and was really seen by everybody as a slacker. He was a surfer guy. He would cut class. He had a couple run-ins with the law, like for shoplifting and weed possession. He didn't have any ambition, really. His parents were hard on him for not having any ambition. He was like a loaf, I guess.
That's a very common Florida type.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm from Florida originally, so I mean, it's just so many people I know just take that route there. I think maybe it's the lifestyle there,
It's
the
hot
beach,
and sunny.
right? And then a lot of them do end up kind of getting into these weird businesses eventually, like, and they make a lot of money, like selling garage door openers or whatever,
some random thing.
Yeah, some random thing where it's like they had no passion for anything, but they kind of fall into something eventually, maybe through their family or whatever. But yeah, it's just such a loafer environment there.
Well, as I've said before in the show, I've never been to Florida before.
Oh, right. But
I feel that this movie does a really good job capturing what I feel like Florida suburbia is like.
Right.
I think Larry Clark's direction is pretty excellent, and everyone's always sweaty. Everyone in this movie is sweaty at all times.
It's very humid.
And I felt that was a really nice touch, is everyone was sweaty in the whole movie.
It's swampy there.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in their location, which is like...
They're South Florida.
South
This
Florida.
is where Hollywood, Florida is. It's southern Florida. It's closer to Miami than like, I don't know, Tallahassee. It's like the only other Florida place I know. I'm trying to figure out Florida right now.
It's no Pensacola.
It's no... So, both of these boys, Bobby and Marty, they loved going to the gym. They were like gym tan laundry.
Yeah, totally.
They were. I'm sorry.
They were
that was a Jersey Shore.
They were Jersey Shore before. I mean, Marty especially is so Jersey Shore looking because he's Italian.
No, you mean Bobby.
I mean, no, Marty too.
Marty's Italian.
He's Italian. He has that Jersey Shore.
But you should see what Bobby looks like.
He's like pumped.
Bobby
but
Bobby. Let me just tell you about Bobby. Okay. Bobby looked nothing like the guy who played him in the movie.
He was played by Nick Stahl, right?
Who looks the exact opposite of how Bobby actually looked. Bobby was a yoked up, olive skinned, just yoked, like thick neck from either steroids or just a ton of pumping iron.
Right. I must be thinking of Nick Stahl because he is completely thin and like
that's what you're getting. I think that's what you can.
But Marty is that Italian.
Marty was Italian, Catholic. His family was Catholic. Puccio, obviously, very Italian name. So, but these two boys were both into the gym, and apparently they were abusing steroids as well. Some have said, like they've speculated, Bobby's steroid use was.
Wait, I'm dying because I just searched for Bobby Kent and I totally remember. No, I totally remember what he looks like now that I'm looking again because I was just thinking of the character in the movie. He is so sorry.
How they cast Nick Stahl in that role?
I mean, I love him.
I love Nick Stahl too.
But yeah, it is a really weird casting. But my God, it's hilarious. They were so Jersey Shore.
Both of these boys were so Jersey Shore looking, but Nick Stahl couldn't look any more opposite than the real Bobby Kent.
No. Well, and Nick Stahl's attractive. Bobby Kent's kind of meatheady looking.
He's too meatheady. I'm not into the meathead thing.
It's just not my thing.
But Bobby was, a popular guy. Right. He was, like I said, very athletic. He was kind of a class clown. He was well liked. And he was also a piece of shit.
Right.
He was very, very abusive to his best friend, Marty. And Marty was often left with bruises. One time he had his nose fractured from Bobby. He punched him in the face. Like, he was just not a good friend to this guy. And he was also emotionally and psychologically abusive as well. He would publicly humiliate him for his own personal satisfaction. But they were best friends. Right. And Marty was sort of Bobby's, sidekick. Like, they were inseparable. At one point, Bobby and Marty attempted to peddle a homemade porn film to adult video stores in South Florida. And the two of them weren't having sex in the film. In fact, they had coerced a 41-year-old man named Lawrence Schaefer into dancing around naked with a dildo. So that was the film they made.
Where was the dildo?
I don't know if he actually inserted it, but at one point in the video, he says, "Why don't you stick it in there?" Marty says that. Like he's behind the camera.
Uh-huh.
So these boys just pay this guy, or they didn't even pay him, but they were like, "Be in our video.
We'll give you a percentage on the back."
Right. So they go to downtown South Florida, wherever, and they're trying to peddle. I don't fucking know. They're in Southern Florida. Yeah. I'm not good with Florida.
Dude, that is the lamest porn video ever.
I saw a clip of it on this one like A&E special on the case. It was really bad looking.
Well, I mean, come on.
Like this guy, it's just a guy dancing, like stripping and holding like a sex toy, like waving it around.
Those were more innocent times. We need more nowadays.
Right. No one wanted the tape.
Right.
Nobody wanted to buy it.
There goes that get rich quick scheme.
They were like, this is garbage. Schaefer later claimed that he paid Marty to have phone sex with him because that was something that Marty would do is he would sell phone sex. He would charge.
With men?
Yeah, with men. With men. And Schaefer was actually later beaten up and robbed by the two boys.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this is all post-high school, right?
Yes.
They're out of high school now.
Yes, they're just out of high school. So the film Bully also suggests that Bobby had also been sexually abusive to Marty as well, which was like used as a control tactic, which may have been true. Police actually were investigating whether or not they had a homosexual relationship. And I think, well, that's the language that they used. I wouldn't call that any kind of consensual relationship at all. But it was speculated that there was some sort of sexual relationship, whether it was abusive or I don't think there was any chance it was consensual.
Right.
But it is possible that Bobby was abusive in that manner too, because he was abusive in multiple ways.
Right.
He
and
really
that would
wanted
be
to-
like a common humiliation.
Exactly.
In like that kind of straight guy community. Like, where that would be humiliating them.
Yeah. And the boys were relatively homophobic as well, even though they
totally
dabbled in the gay nightlife scene. But that was
said
really
the gay arts. In the gay arts, as if it's Harry Potter.
No, Desi, I dabble in the gay arts. So they would, that was just a tactic to get money. It was a hustling technique. So the movie Bully is actually one of the most accurate depictions of a true crime in a film I've ever seen. When I was researching this case, and I had seen the movie before, like over a decade ago, and I watched it again recently, a couple nights ago, and as I was researching the case, like, I'm like, wow, this is like details are like very small details are included in the film. And pretty much the movie is exactly how it went down, from what I gathered from the stuff I researched this week. Including even there's snippets of dialogue that are taken directly from things that characters said or parents said in interviews later.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I liked that it was such an accurate representation. The one huge thing that wasn't accurate was the way the Bobby Kent looked in the movie. It was like
the casting.
Yeah, but overall, I do think that the casting is really good.
It worked because everyone's great actor in
Everyone was a great actor in it.
And if you don't know the case or the people, you're not going to be disturbed by that.
No, and it's still a really, and even if you don't know the case or care about the case, it's a very compelling story.
And it's relevant. It's just always relevant, that the idea of being bullied like that.
Right.
Everyone kind of, even if you didn't have it happen to you, I mean, I knew guys like Bobby Kent. Like, I was not involved with them in any way, but I would see that kind of relationship between teenager.
It's the ultimate toxic masculinity, sort of the beating up on your best friend. And we'll see the women. We're going to talk about the women now that he beat up on as well. So Bobby had essentially made Marty his bitch. Whatever he said, Marty did. And Marty was afraid of him. Bobby was also said to have been like Eddie Haskell, one of the prosecutors. Maybe it was one of Marty's attorneys, but somebody, when the trial was going on, compared Bobby to Eddie Haskell in that he was kind of a suck-up, good kid to the parents and this menace and terror to all of his peers. So Marty starts dating this 18-year-old girl named Lisa Connolly. She was another burnout and high school dropout, just like Marty. The Miami Herald described Lisa as, quote, chubby, red-haired, and lonely-hearted.
Aww.
I know. It's really
Jesus
sad.
Christ.
So Lisa in the film is played by Rachel Miner, who is not chubby, but compared to Bijou Phillips is like a twig in that movie.
Right.
So I guess that's like their Hollywood
she's
sort of.
Hollywood chub.
Right. And
so
she's not
normal.
chubby at all, like whatever. But I had forgotten that Rachel Miner was Macaulay Culkin's ex-wife. Remember
Oh,
when he got
right.
married when he was like
Yes.
18?
Yes.
That was the girl he married.
That's right.
They were married for like 3 months or something.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I remember being so sad when he got married because, like, obviously I liked Macaulay Culkin when I was little.
Yeah. So you're
like-
upset.
I was like,
You're
oh,
like, oh, he's taken.
he's taken.
Yes.
So, Lisa was very insecure about her looks and her weight, and she actually had, and this was depicted in the movie, in Lisa's bedroom, her walls were covered with cutouts of hunky-looking guys and girls and models.
Right.
Sort of like this ideal that she had for herself and for her future, or
It was a vision board.
it was her vision board, but it was her whole room. It was just cutouts of, beautiful looking bodies.
Right.
And that was what she wanted. And so when she meets Marty, and he's this like good looking blonde surfer guy with muscles,
Right.
she's smitten and she wants to be with him. And he's giving her self-esteem just from looking the way that he does.
Right.
And she falls in love with him instantly. In the movie, she actually goes to her mom after their first date and says, "Oh, I have a boyfriend." And that actually, according to this Miami Herald article I was reading from 1993, that is something that she actually said to her mom. So she fell
Hard, fast.
hard, fast. I mean, this is a girl who was really looking for acceptance and approval.
Right.
Lisa, however, was really getting tired of Marty spending all of his time with Bobby. So she set up Bobby with her best friend, 17-year-old Allie Willis, a high school dropout who had been part of a high school prostitute ring run by a retired boat captain. Now, that's a case
Wow.
that I feel like I wanted to sort of deviate. When I went off into like another, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to research this.
What's Allie's
what
story?
the fuck is this about? I did find a newspaper article about that case when that man was arrested. He was a old retired unemployed boat captain guy, and he was running a prostitution ring at a Florida high school and recruiting young girls.
Well, I take back what I said about people in Florida having no ambition.
This guy had lots of ambition. Unfortunately, it was ambition to pimp out underage girls.
Right.
And he did. And Allie Willis was one of those girls.
Wow. I have like a real image of him in my head.
It's probably accurate. It's probably, he's scary looking. I looked him
that
up.
Sounds scary.
I looked up his mugshot. I think he's still in prison, thank God.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, Allie in the movie is played by Bijou Phillips.
Right.
And in the first shot of Bijou Phillips, you get some really excellent underboob.
I was just thinking about that bikini top.
The bikini-
It's barely, her boobs are popping out the bottom.
They're popping out the bottom. I mean, it is like excellent top-notch underboob.
Right.
I was very
It's
happy
the
about
original.
that. It was
Yeah.
great. Like I said before, Bijou Phillips, I think, does such a great performance in this role. She's great. She's perfect for it. And Allie had gotten pregnant as a teen, and when that baby was a year old, she left it in her mother's care, and she moved in with her friend Lisa. Allie then began dating Bobby Kent. I wrote a note here that just says lots of pubes in this movie. And there
Yeah.
was. There's a lot of pubes.
It was pre-shaving.
There's guy pubes. There's girl pubes. There's Lisa. You see Lisa's pubes. You see Marty's pubes.
Yeah.
I think you see Bobby's pubes. You just see every main character in this movie. You see their pubic hair.
I love pubes.
I like seeing it in a movie. It's refreshing. It's different. So I just put that as a note there. Bobby was super abusive to Allie. And she said that he was possessive of her and that he beat her and raped her. I know, Romy, it is bad. Their relationship did not last.
Oh.
Lisa obviously hated Bobby because of his treatment towards her boyfriend Marty and her best friend Allie. But Marty was also abusive to Lisa too. And this is something they briefly touched on in Bully, that Marty, he grabs Lisa by the wrists in the movie when she tells him that she's pregnant with his child, and it leaves a mark on her. And I wondered if that was just done for dramatic effect or if that was actually true. But I did read later on that, yes, in fact, Marty was abusive to Lisa, but she didn't give a fuck.
Right.
She loved this guy and she wanted to be with him at any cost. Like I said before, he was her dream guy aesthetically, and she just wanted to be loved.
Yeah.
You know, she just wanted a boyfriend really bad. So she was with him, and as a lot of battered women, she wasn't like, you know, he's going to change.
Right,
He's
right.
I love him, Mom. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the mom wasn't happy about her being with this Marty guy because he knew that he was being abusive to her daughter.
Right.
I think actually, and Bobby was a piece of shit also. Bobby was, you know, a piece of shit to Lisa as well.
Oh, so abusing his friend's girlfriend too.
Yeah, like verbally
Right.
abusing.
Well, Bobby seems to be an equal opportunity.
Bobby doesn't care
offender.
who it is. He's going to
just-
abuse
yeah.
anybody that comes in his path. So, in June of 1993, Marty told Lisa that he was ready to end his toxic relationship with Bobby. Lisa urged Marty to confront Bobby and to put an end to the relationship once and for all. Around this time, Lisa learned that she was pregnant with Marty's baby. And she also became convinced that the only way to truly get rid of Bobby was to murder him. She even talked about this with Marty. In an interview years later, Lisa claims that yes, she did say that she told Marty she wanted to murder Bobby, but that she didn't really mean it. She was just a kid. She's like, I just said that.
Right.
So on July 13th, 1993, Lisa Connolly called Allie Willis and told her that Bobby said he was going to murder her and her baby if she didn't get back together with him. Allie was rightfully fucking freaked out. This is a guy she was with for a few weeks who was abusive to her, and now she's hearing from her best friend that he wants to kill her and her baby.
So she was pregnant too?
No, I said before she had a baby that she left with her mom.
Oh, I thought you said Bobby said he was going to murder her and her baby.
Yeah, she had a baby. Allie had a baby.
Oh, murder her old baby that she already had.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, no, she
I'm getting
wasn't-
confused because everyone's like knocked up.
Dude, everyone's knocked up. I know.
Okay. So he was going to marry her and her child or whatever.
Murder her and her child.
Right, okay.
Right. So Allie has a baby that's like a year old at this point.
Got it.
And that she had from some rando.
Got it.
When she was in high school.
Right. I just got confused because the other one's pregnant.
Yes.
Too.
Everyone's
Lisa,
pregnant
yeah,
or
okay.
has a baby.
Okay. Got it.
And they're teenagers. It's a mess.
It's very Florida.
Yeah, it's very. Okay, so let's see. Lisa would later deny that she had called to talk about planning on murdering him. She again says that she wasn't serious at all, but according to Allie, Lisa was trying to get her involved with the plot to murder Bobby. Allie showed up at Lisa's house with her new boyfriend, 17-year-old Donnie Semenik, who in the film is played by Michael Pitt.
I know. I love Michael Pitt.
Okay. And he's very sweaty also in this movie.
Yes.
Everyone's very sweaty. I have to keep reiterating that. And her friend, 18-year-old Heather Swallers, who in the film was played by Kelly Garner. Both of these individuals are also burnouts and druggies. Heather had lots of problems with drugs in the past. In the movie, they show her breaking out of rehab to get a ride to Allie's house, to Lisa's house. So Lisa is just meeting Donnie and Heather for the first time. These are just people that Allie knows, that one of them's Allie's boyfriend and the other is a friend.
Right.
So Lisa had also been in touch with a self-proclaimed hitman, a 20-year-old named Derrick Kaufman, who in the film is played by Leo Fitzpatrick, which was Telly in Kids.
Okay.
Who does an excellent job in this film because he's so fucking trashy.
Yeah.
He has a mullet
I mean,
and like a black wife beater on and like a silver chain.
I love that he's a hitman at 20. I'm sorry.
Self-proclaimed
Yeah.
hitman. I have to say
Yeah.
those words, self-proclaimed hitman. Like that's what he said he was.
Yeah.
And you're going to see why he was self-proclaimed in a minute.
Yeah.
I love talking about stupid criminals.
I know. I mean, it's so sad.
It's so sad. So the group met with this guy, Derrick, on July 13th to talk about getting a gun to kill Bobby with. But Derrick said he's like, I can't get a gun that fast. And first of all, I'm thinking, if you're a hitman, why don't you just have a gun? I mean,
it
I don't
seems
know.
like 101 hitman class.
Seems like he should have an
your
arsenal of
fucking gun.
guns.
At least one gun.
Or someone with a gun.
How do you not have one gun?
That's your job.
As a hitman. What are you, sawing their heads off? Like, come on.
That's like you're a writer and you don't have
A laptop
or a writing utensil.
a pencil.
Anything. Like, sorry, I can't get one on such short notice.
Right. It's crazy.
Jesus, how dare you ask me for that?
You idiot.
You fucking idiots. But Lisa was impatient. She wanted Bobby dead now. So that night, Allie and Lisa lured Bobby to a remote area in Broward County at a construction site. The plan was for Allie to seduce Bobby and for Lisa to shoot him with her mom's gun. But when they got there, Lisa chickened out. When they returned back to the block that Bobby and Marty lived on, Bobby allegedly raped Allie that night at his house. So the next day, the group recruits 19-year-old Derrick De Vougeot to help with their plot. Derrick is Lisa's cousin, who's played by the guy who goes, "She doesn't even go here" in Mean Girls. I fucking forget his name right now.
I don't remember
But
either.
he's great.
Yeah.
He was great in this movie. Everyone was great. Where was Marty? I wrote that. I don't know why. Where was Marty at this point? Okay, I'll tell you where Marty was, Desi. On July 14th at 11:30 p.m., the group heads to Marty's house. Marty emerged wearing a black trench coat, combat boots, and a red bandana.
Whoa.
Allie described him as, quote, looking like Rambo.
Okay.
Marty wants to kick some butt, Desi.
He looked like Rambo. Like, I love that that's like her. Like, ooh, hard eyes. He kind of sounds like he looked more like one of the Columbine shooters. Like,
I was
I
gonna
mean, I know that
say,
was pre-Columbine, but like
it was like 6 years before Columbine, but that was like
the trench coat mafia.
It was an early prototype of the trench coat mafia look.
Yeah, totally.
But he's like
The
really,
bandana made it Florida.
right. You have to add a little flair because it's Florida. Before you kill someone,
you gotta to keep the sweat out of your.
you got to be fucking extra before you kill your best friend because you're
oh
in
my
Florida.
god, the outfit.
So he's wearing this fucking outfit. He also has a scuba knife strapped to his thigh. Like, he
Come
literally
on.
does think he's going to be in an action movie at this
Right.
point. Marty says, "Okay, I'm ready." Can you just? I just imagine him like busting
It's
out
so
of the house.
sad. I'm literally cringing on every level. Like,
I just imagine him standing there, just like, "Let's do this." Like all he has to do is put on some fucking shades.
the Florida in me gets really excited by this kind of Florida stupidity. I just can't even tell you. It like gives me goosebumps that I've escaped this hell. I don't know how I did it.
So Marty, Allie, Lisa, Heather, and Donnie, and the two Derricks all stood around in Marty's driveway.
Two Derricks is. Listen, you can't even live in Florida if you don't know two people named Derrick. You got to have at least two Derricks, and they probably spell it differently. Like one is what?
No, they're both with a K.
Okay. Well, no, I meant like that you can
With a
spell
Y?
it with a Y or like an ICK at the end. Just like, come on.
So they're all examining the weapons that they had brought. And these weapons were an aluminum baseball bat, a lead pipe, and two knives.
What is this fucking clue?
And a rope.
the lead pipe and a candlestick. Come on.
Well, they couldn't get the gun. You know what's funny about
They
it?
lost that piece in the game.
You know what's hilarious about this to me is that they still brought the hitman along with them, even though he didn't bring
He's
the
like,
gun.
I need to get some credit for one hit. Like,
He's like, oh, I'm not doing anything. Are you guys gonna invite me?
yeah,
You guys got plans?
I got a baseball bat.
No, he didn't. Bring
he didn't anything.
He didn't bring any weapons. he
Jesus
just fucking
Christ.
came along for the ride. So, Marty then called Bobby up to invite him to hang out with the group, and Allie had promised him sex and that they could race her new Mustang that she had gotten.
Where did she get a new Mustang?
She had rich parents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Bobby's like, sure. So at around 11:45 p.m., Bobby showed up and the group headed out to the kill site in two different cars to Broward County. When they arrived at the site, Allie and Heather distracted Bobby. The plan was for one of the girls to give a signal when they were ready, the boys would attack. When the signal was given, Donnie Semenuk ran up to Bobby and stabbed him in the back of the neck. Bobby screamed for help. Then Marty ambushed Bobby and stabbed him in the gut with a scuba knife. The wound was deep enough that his intestines began to spill out.
Ugh.
Yeah. Bobby cried, "Marty, whatever I did, I'm sorry." But Marty continued to stab him. Donnie and Marty then tackled Bobby to the ground, where Marty stabbed Bobby in the heart. Derek Kaufman then approached with the aluminum baseball bat and struck a blow to Bobby's head. Marty then got on top of Bobby and slit his throat twice.
Damn.
Yeah. Believing him to be dead, the boys dragged
What
Bobby.
made them think that? It's like Rasputin.
Dude, it is like Rasputin. This guy would not die. Believing him to be dead, the boys dragged Bobby to the edge of a nearby swamp. Very Florida.
Right.
You got to have a
You
swamp
need to
in a
have an
murder in
alligator
Florida.
eat the body.
They wanted the alligator to eat the body. Bobby was still alive at this point, but he would die from his injuries while lying in the water. So they murdered him. They all went to dispose of their weapons.
Right.
They threw some of them in the ocean at the beach, but Derek, Lisa's cousin, wanted to keep his baseball bat.
Hey guys, I spent a lot. I just bought this at Big Lots.
Honestly, yeah, that was pretty much it.
Dude, these people are so
They
dumb.
even say that in the movie. He's like, "I need my baseball bat back."
Guys, come on. I'll clean it real good.
Right. And Derek in the movie was like, "I technically didn't do anything wrong."
Oh my god.
And he said that IRL too. He was like, "I didn't do anything. I was just there."
Just because it was my bat.
Right. So it didn't take long. I'm sorry. I want to make a note here that Allie Willis later confirmed in an interview with NBC Miami in 2011 that the murder scene depicted in the movie Bully was pretty much exactly how it went down.
Wow.
So that's someone who was actually there confirming, yes, this movie was
Accurate.
as even the murder scene, which usually sometimes it's like, oh, did they embellish on this murder
Right.
scene? In fact, when I was reading some of the medical examiner reports, it seemed almost more gnarly
Yeah.
than the actual scene in the movie, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Because it does take him a long time to die in the film, and he is
Begging
for his
Yeah.
life. It's pretty rough. It didn't take long after the murder for the kids to crack. Bobby had been a missing persons case for more than a few days at this point when Allie Willis placed an anonymous call to the police about the murder. So the guilt had gotten the best of her. She said that Marty and Lisa had killed Bobby Kent. Next, Derrick De Vougeot confessed to his uncle about the murder. And on July 18th, Derrick De Vougeot led detectives to the body. So he just fucking straight up
Right.
turned his ass in. It was only a matter of days that the 5 out of the 7 kids admitted to having a role in Bobby Kent's murder. So they flipped pretty easily.
Right.
And they just told everything. At this point, Marty and Derek still maintain their innocence at
And
this
that's
time.
the self-proclaimed hitman, Derek.
No, that was Derrick De Vougeot, the one who led them to the body.
Oh,
He was
okay.
like, I didn't have anything
Oh, right. So he
to
was
do with
saying,
it.
yeah.
He thought if I turn myself in,
Right.
they'll be, I didn't do anything. I was just there.
So he's gonna look innocent because
Right. Even though he procured the baseball bat and helped drag him into the water
Right.
where he died. So during the trial, the prosecution framed Lisa Connolly as the ringleader of the murder. And she maintained ignorance to the whole murder plot, saying that she thought, I just thought they were going to beat Bobby up.
Right.
This is a quote from Connolly during the trial. She said, I just wanted him to stop being so mean, but I didn't want him dead. I didn't want him dead. I didn't want him murdered. In 2001, upon the release of the movie Bully, Florida Sun Sentinel paper reported about a juror who had become friends with Lisa following the trial. This juror had felt guilty about convicting Lisa and believed that she was more innocent than she had been portrayed by the prosecution and the media. However, Prosecutor Tim Donnelly felt quite the opposite. This is what he had to say about Lisa Connolly. He said that she was spared because she was, quote, a young white girl with the face of a Gerber baby.
Lisa just can't win. She's just a chubby little baby. Little did Lisa know her chub would be what saved her.
Well, even the newspaper articles I was reading about the trial were like red-faced crying Lisa, like
Jesus Christ.
like they were like dunking on her even in the
Right.
in the reports about her. It was always like she was blubbering on the witness stand and red-faced. So okay. He also said, Lisa Connolly is the most manipulative defendant I have prosecuted in 20 years. I will fight this till the day I die.
Whoa.
Yeah, so he was like, I'm not buying any of your fucking sniveling Gerber baby horse shit,
Yeah.
Lisa. And I did find Lisa Connolly's Facebook page because she's out now. And she basically is like writing a book now about how she was innocent
Okay.
and that she's not this bully, or that she's not the way that everyone framed her, I guess. I don't know. In 1995, Derrick De Vougeot was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to 7 years in prison. He was released in 1999. Heather Swallers was also sentenced to second-degree murder and released in 1998. Donnie Semenik was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Derek Kaufman, our favorite self-proclaimed hitman, was sentenced to life plus 30 years. Allie Willis was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
These sentences are so all over the place.
I never understood that about Allie Willis getting such a huge...
Like, why would she have more than some of the guys?
I have no idea. I mean, it could have been the fact that she
lured him
there. Or they believe because it was his ex.
Right.
I could never understand that. However, she did file an appeal and her sentence was reduced to 17 years. And she's out now. She's been out since 2001.
Oh, wow.
But she's on probation until 2041. So she'll be a little old lady being like, I'm staying out all night tonight.
Yeah.
Lisa Connolly was sentenced to life, but her sentence was reduced on appeal. She got 9 years and was released in 2004.
9 years?
Yeah. Marty Puccio, however, was sentenced to death by electrocution.
Wow.
In 1997, his sentence was reduced to life in prison.
Why?
I read the appeal and I forgot why just now. It was a long appeal.
I mean, that's so weird that all of their cases seem to be like reduced at some point.
Right. They all got reduced. I do think...
Was it because they were young and that they believed Bobby was really bad? Like,
I mean, this is like one of those crazy cases where some parts of it you do want to believe that these kids were
pushed to
the edge.
Right.
But then you think about how, well, Marty was also a piece of fucking shit.
There's no really good person.
There's no good person in this story.
And you believe Bobby was horrible.
Right.
But they're so not innocent too.
The only person I ever really kind of rooted for in this situation in a way was the Allie Willis. She was very traumatized by this guy who had raped her. And
so she has more of an incentive.
Right. And she had been raped and abused before as a kid. She was involved in a prostitution ring when she was a teenager. I guess that's why I have sympathy towards her in that way.
But she was also a rich girl.
Yeah, but bad things happen to rich girls too. I mean, this is like horrible.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not horrible. I'm not talking about the rape. I'm talking about her like slide and I don't know.
Well, she was like...
She seems more a complicated character than a lot of them.
Yeah, she did. I mean, she wasn't like that rich, but she had money. I mean, her parents had money, but like, I don't think that really has anything to do. I think, she doesn't have like a fault in getting involved in this prostitution ring when she was like 15 years old.
No.
Like that she was
But I do feel like she is complicit in this murder.
Of course she's complicit. I'm just saying she is the more complicated character who I sort of had the most
She has the most
for
sympathy because of her story.
because of her story.
Whereas the other ones, they were just all fuck ups.
Right. And the other thing that's really crazy about this case is that, like, Heather Swallers was just really, and Derek Kaufman, they were just fucking along for the ride. It's
bizarre
just,
to me that you would.
They didn't even know Bobby.
Right.
They didn't even have like a relationship to any of Bobby's victims.
They're just aimless people who are like, let's go.
Right.
I mean,
let's do
insane.
it. Like, especially this Derek Kaufman guy, his fucking mullet. He does have a mullet in real life.
Of course.
We'll post his picture from the trial. He's very attractive looking.
Well, I mean, a mullet. Come on.
But yeah, I like doing this case. I was like, God, like everyone here just fucking sucks.
It kind of reminds me of the Jimmy James Hollywood.
Jesse James Hollywood.
Or Jesse James Hollywood's, yeah. Where
Well,
it's like everyone was kind of like.
Everyone was really, I mean, there was a lot of scuzzy characters in that, but the person who was murdered in that was such an innocent victim.
He was innocent, right.
And
but I'm just saying all the characters surrounding it were just like.
All the characters surrounding him were pretty gross people. But this was like, I mean, that I think, and that's the other thing that was so effective about having Larry Clark be the director of this, because the way he did kids was all about like disaffected, aimless, in trouble, at-risk youth.
So it was a subject matter that was perfect for him.
Right. So this also painted this picture of these very like apathetic, like rudderless.
Did anyone claim that Bobby Kent was a good guy? Like in the trial, like his parents or whoever?
Yeah, of course. His parents in the trial were like, he was our sweetheart and he was going to go to college and he was going to do this and that. And like, you know, I'm like I said before, it's like he was compared to Eddie Haskell.
So all the adults in his life thought he was.
He did have this good reputation with the adults, but they didn't see this darker side of him in which he was manipulative and horribly abusive to everyone else around him.
Is it only the stories of these people who are saying he's abusive? That's what I'm wondering. Like, not that I disbelieve them.
Right.
But nothing was ever necessarily proven.
Well, it was like the teenagers, all the teenagers in his life.
I'm just curious if there was like some alternate conspiracy where Marty was really, do you know what I mean?
Right, Marty was the one.
And he killed the good guy and made it look like he was the bad or whatever. Like
that would be an interesting conspiracy.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there is stuff like that on the internet that wonders, you know, if that stuff happened, but it would have to be a lot of people in on the conspiracy because Allie Willis was his girlfriend.
Right.
And she's like, yeah, he raped me and he beat me up.
Right.
And he was terrible.
Right. So everyone's out except for Derek the hitman.
Derek's not out. Donnie's not out. And Marty Puccio is still in prison forever.
So there's no possibility of parole.
I don't think so. His sentence just got commuted to not die
death.
by electric chair.
Dude, it's insane that there's still electric chair in Florida. Is
there still
I don't know,
chair?
but that was only what?
It sounds so crazy. It sounds so like
electric chair is the most extra death
it's
penalty
so
you can
fucking
get. Like,
extra. It's so wild that like in 2018 that's like still
I feel
a
like
thing.
no one really does that anywhere, but that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they could still use it, but no one does. Like,
yeah,
it's so crazy.
It's wild.
I mean, I think that Ted Bundy was electric chaired.
Yeah,
right.
He was.
I just think Florida. I mean, come on, Florida's not going to give up that shit. It's talking about extra. Like Florida is the most extra. I can't even like. I've always hated Florida since I moved. You know, I moved to New York when I was like 10. But my roots are very deep in Florida. Like my whole family is from there. So it's like, it was such a relief to me when people started realizing what a fucked up place Florida was. Like, cause now it's like if on the internet, it's always,
the butt
it's like the butt of the joke. And it's like, of course it's Florida.
Right.
And it's just like, finally, like I felt like no one got how insane Florida was for the longest time. So it is sort of a relief.
Right.
But now part of me is like, okay, like, come on, New Jersey.
Right.
Or like, thank God Roy Moore was like in Alabama or something. Cause that would be so Florida too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Florida is still such a horrible place. I don't know if I'll ever go back there, but there are things I do think about like wanting to see again.
Like what?
Well, they have like the most rinky dink tourist attractions in Florida.
Like a giant ball of yarn?
No, it'll be like an alligator, Uncle Pa's alligator farm, or like a manatee. Like, I mean, just like, or like a mermaid, like Waikiki. There was like one called like Waikiki mermaids. So you would go and see these mermaids, but they were in the shittiest like aquarium tanks. I mean, they were human beings with like mermaid tails.
Oh
And it was supposed to be like the height of glamour. And it was just like the grossest. So I am fascinated by that tourism scene there.
Right.
Because there is like the highbrow rich areas that are sort of touristy, but then there's just rinky dink tourism all throughout Florida. And I like that aspect.
Yeah.
My grandfather was actually a souvenir salesman.
Shut up.
So he would sell souvenirs to all of these tourist
Yeah.
traps or whatever. So I would have so many of them growing up. Like I had like 5 collapsible cups. Like I just had a shitload of Florida souvenirs.
Oh my God.
A few years ago, I was like collecting them on eBay. I would like buy like coasters or
Right.
because they are sort of retro and sort of trashy camp.
Right.
I don't know. So there is this element of Florida that I do find fascinating, but I hate it in general.
Well, I think that's why I've always wanted to go there, is because
Right.
I am fascinated by
I feel like there could be a fun adventure in Florida, but I don't really have the time or money to plan it to do what I would want to do.
Right.
But if I had an unlimited, I think it's also like I'm not at the level in my life where I'm just taking unlimited vacations.
Right.
So if I'm taking a vacation, I'm not going to fucking Florida.
Well, when this
But
podcast
if I had
gets
like
enough money, we'll go.
Right. When I had like, if I had like unlimited funds, I'd be like, let's go to Florida for a weekend and do fucking shitty things.
I'm saying that, Desi, when we get enough money, when we get sponsors on this show,
We'll do a crime tour
we'll
of Florida.
do a crime tour of Florida.
Oh, like if I had like a show where we were going to do a show in Miami or Orlando or whatever, I would definitely be like, let's go off
go to
these
the-
side roads and go to these rinky-dink fucking
Oh my
places
God,
because
I
they
would
still
love
exist.
that.
Like,
I would love that.
so yeah. So
I
that
still
part
want
is
to go
fascinating.
there. I still want to see what it's all about because I just hear
Right.
such things.
At this
I'm
point, I just can't
fascinated.
imagine what would bring me back there. But yeah, if it was like for a show, a live
Right.
show or whatever.
when we start touring.
Yes.
When we start touring, we'll make a stop in Florida. If you're a listener from Florida, please give us a shout out
Right.
on Twitter or in our Facebook group, Hollywood Crime Scene Friends.
Yeah. Say hey.
I actually love hearing where people are from. I think we had some people last week talking about who else here is from England.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was cute.
So
there was
really-
a few people.
Yeah.
I know. It was exciting.
Yeah, I really
We're
like.
international.
I know. I love that we're international.
We have a lot of listeners in Canada too.
We do.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Well, enough about us. Thanks. That was interesting.
Okay.
Check out the movie.
Yeah, watch the movie Bully. It's very good if you haven't seen it. And I hope you guys like that episode.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
More taters, Mom.